If you've ever been to Korea during the election period, you may have noticed some rather strange and weird scenes surrounding the campaigns. Have you ever seen a campaign vehicle? What about chanting the candidate's name? Singing and dancing? On top of these, Korean election campaigns really focus on online platforms. Besides the aggressive tweets from a certain former US president, not even social media is heavily used in elections around the world. Korea, a home to some of the top technology companies in the world, is at forefront for online campaigning. Unlike North America or many European countries, Korea has a direct electoral system. This means voters directly cast votes to elect the president. Not only that, as long as you meet certain requirements, anyone can run as a presidential candidate, even if you don't belong to any major party. But this wasn't always the case. In fact, you can say that Korea's democracy is currently only 34 years old, starting from 1988. Korea's democracy is relatively young but has a very dynamic history. Many events in its history have changed the election campaigns. Although the first Korean government was set up in 1948, it was chaotic. People were given rights to vote, but election was not a simple matter due to high levels of illiteracy and lack of education. If your voters can't read, how do you appeal for votes? The very first election used posters, billboards, and public appearances like speeches. By the time Second Republic came, the government changed to parliamentary system, away from the direct electoral system. But this government didn't last long, and the Third Republic came into power via a military coup. Then Fourth and Fifth Republic, also coup governments. Many electoral campaign methods were banned during this period. Only 3 methods of campaigning were allowed at this point. So in 1988, the arrival of the Sixth Republic brought about a lot of campaign changes. Not only did the system go back to the direct electoral system, campaign methods expanded from 3 to 9. The nation, the president of the dictatorship, showed his desire for democracy by filling in election rallies with hundreds of thousands of people. Candidates responded with the various campaigns, now able to utilize multiple outlets of media. Thus began the history of quirky election trends. The initial election campaign methods were to promote candidates by listing biographies, putting forward political images and personal charisma, appeals to regional support, and negatives about opponents and their work. While this kind of campaign was safe, they didn't really make candidates stand out. So campaigners started to bring out new techniques to get people interested. Posters, one of the oldest methods of campaign tools, are great to set an image for a candidate, but often a static image doesn't attract people. Perhaps that is why these election vehicles are still alive. These are loud, often playing catchy tunes to promote candidates. This is one of the older campaign methods that allows candidates to cover larger areas than a static poster. These vehicles allow voters to familiarize themselves with candidates' face and their campaign pledges. Since 1997, TJ Kim, 15th President Kim Dae-jung, used election songs to win the presidential election. Perhaps it's fitting that a president with a DJ for initial popularized campaign songs. Since then, election songs became a staple in Korea. Election songs work because it played into human psychology.
If a candidate was to use a catchy song like Baby Shark, I'm sure you will remember the candidate.
This is why dancing is also associated with election campaigns. You hear catchy songs, you got to dance. Last unusual feature in Korean election is use of the internet. We've all witnessed the rise and fall of a US president, now banned from Twitter. But Korea used the internet for election campaigns for much longer. President No Moo-hyun used an online community to approach voters, which eventually helped him win the election. So when both leading candidates in the 20th presidential election used YouTube as a platform to gather supporters, this was not a huge thing. Or was it? Political campaigns changed a lot by 2022. The 20th presidential election was done amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and Korea saw a massive surge of reports of infection due to the highly transmissible Omicron variant. This meant some of the traditional campaign methods were not ideal. But the candidates needed to solidify their support and still reach more audiences. Enter YouTube. The candidates didn't just create videos for their channels. Instead, they actively went to interviews by popular YouTubers, as they would do for television networks. Now President-elect Yoon went a step further, creating an AI version of himself using deepfake technology. All these campaigns were designed to do one thing: connect with the voters. Despite the advancement of technology, politics are often a hard topic for regular folks. By creating songs, dances, slogans, even an AI, the candidates try their hardest to reach out to the voters and really send messages as to why they are the perfect candidates to be the next president.